All right, let's get started. No crying. So Stephen, at the keynote, they had me come up and say, answer some questions and stuff. And last night, he was like, you have to cry or pass out, do something dramatic. And I was like, that's kind of weird. And then I cried on the stage.
Aww.
I know, right? So dumb. Okay, so anyway, no crying in this session. Can you guys hear Stephen okay? Talk, you gotta talk.
Good morning, boys and girls. Can everybody hear me okay?
That's much louder. That sounds good.
Okay,
yeah.
good.
Let me shut this stuff down, sorry. Okay.
All
right, so Stephen's sharing his desktop, or showing the slides, so that's good. I'm gonna try to stand here so he can hear me well. But thanks for being here. Thanks for coming to our session. Stephen wanted to be here in person. I'll let him talk about that, but I'm just excited that we get to do this session and share a little bit about what we're doing here in the community. So hopefully all of you were at the keynote and saw me cry. But my name is Laurie Pottmeyer, and I'm the community lead within Microsoft Teams Engineering. And I work closely with Stephen, and we have weekly meetings and talk all things community, and I just love having his support. So we wanted to have this session and share all of our opportunities and ways to connect and everything with all of you. So Stephen, you want to introduce yourself for anybody that may not know you?
A few folks may not. That's always great. So hi, I'm Stephen Rose. I'm a 13-year veteran here at Microsoft. I am the senior product manager for Microsoft Teams on the Microsoft Work Group. I'm also the host of Inside Microsoft Teams, and you can reach out and follow me and get all the latest news about all the cool stuff at Microsoft by following me on Twitter at Stephen L. Rose, and it's always the best way to reach me with a question.
All right.
Let's do agenda.
Let's switch to the agenda. It's a pretty loose agenda. We want to really just hear from all of you too throughout this. It's pretty informal, so feel free to speak up, raise your hand, just if you have questions as we go through, and I'll repeat so that Stephen can hear any questions that you have. But we just want to share some updates, different ways to connect within the community, how we can help you with your different efforts, documentation or resources, things that you're looking for too. So this is meant to be interactive. So this is our loose agenda. So just starting off, we have a blank slide. Weird.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Okay, no, go ahead. You can move it.
Oh, go to the next one? Okay.
Yeah. This is our hack with using Teams. But community is super important to Microsoft Teams. People often ask me to describe my job as community lead, and I think that I have the best job in the world because I get to talk all things community, and I get to be with people and do things like this. But really, in reality, I can only do it because our engineering team leadership supports that. And so I think it's pretty cool that I work for a company, but also a product within this great company that really feels that community is a priority, that connecting with customers is a priority. And so we get to do lots of fun things, but really at the nut, we just want to connect with people so that we can continue to improve our product and continue to get feedback and continue to build products, not in a silo, not in a vacuum, but that make a difference for all of you and all the people that you work with. So just want to stress that. This role that I have is not an accident, it is intent. So I'm gonna share a few of the opportunities, and you can go ahead and advance different ways to engage. How many of you are aware of the public preview program? And are any of you in it? So it's like half the room, Stephen. Yeah?
Awesome.
Good?
Love that.
Good. So the Microsoft Teams public preview program is a really great opportunity to get involved and see early releases. For those of you who may not be part of TAP or our technical preview programs, the the public preview program is a really great way to see things early. Stephen, do you want to talk about it?
Yeah, I work pretty closely with Kishal and folks, and our goal here is really to allow you to be able to see all those cool new features that we are talking about, to be able to test them, to play with them. We're really looking for you to kind of put those through the ringer, to find those bugs, to find issues, and to be aware, to start to play with those features so that you can make your end users ready, so that you can ensure that it's going to be smooth when it rolls out, and for your various leads or your change champions to be able to demo that feature for it, show it to them, so that when it comes to your general audience, you're completely ready to not just roll that feature out, but to be able to leverage it, use it, and that your end users are educated on it.
Yeah, so the screenshot there is just a snippet. If you go to the public preview site, and we'll share, I think it's aka.ms Teams public preview is the link that we would love for you to share with your communities. But when you go to that link, there's not only documentation of how to get involved with public preview, but also you can link out and see all the different things across all Office products, different bugs that we fixed, and different features that have been released. So great opportunity.
Yeah, we also do a blog that comes out on a regular basis that talks about those new features and what's out, so that you can be aware of it as well and start to play with those. But it's your best way, if there's a feature you're interested in, to be able to see it before anybody else, including insiders. And this is different than the insiders program. This is a step above that. So you're getting stuff before even our insiders get it.
Everybody always asks, like, how do I know if I'm in preview or not? So I put a little screenshot there that's in the documentation, but you have a little P by your profile picture there. That's a good indicator of if you're in preview or if you're not in preview. So, cool. Preview program, yeah, share that. We're always looking for more and more people. It's super important that we get early validation, so that's a great way for the public to get involved and do testing and validation. UserVoice. So UserVoice is everybody, like I've seen on social and different calls that I've been in, everybody's like, I heard UserVoice is going away, and already for many of the Microsoft products, UserVoice has been replaced or it has gone away. Teams felt it was very, very important to keep UserVoice going until we had a solution to replace. So today, if you go to aka.ms Teams feedback, you will see UserVoice. That is how we collect our feedback, and it's super important for us to get product feedback. That I would say during the beginning of COVID, when the world turned upside down, and I don't say that lightly because it was awful. And for the product itself, we had all these stack ranked features that we were kind of chugging along with and implementing here and there as we went. And I'm part of the quality and customer obsession team. So my team is the team that looks over all of the submissions that come through UserVoice and then works with the program manager or the product managers, the PMs, on implementing those things, prioritizing, and then eventually what we end up implementing or crossing off the list or deprioritizing. When COVID came about, all of those priorities changed. Like, remember having the Brady Bunch view? Like that, nobody cared about seeing more than 4 people on the screen. Nobody, like it was a UserVoice item, sure, it was on our backlog, but COVID, all of a sudden, Teams sucks, like I can't believe you can't see more than 4 people, and it was like, oh my God, all of a sudden it was like, it shot up to like the #1 thing we had to fix, like we had to improve that. Priorities definitely change, and UserVoice is a way that we're able to see immediately what those trends are. Like, I don't remember what the numbers were, but it was significant how things changed. And that Brady Bunch view was not the only feature that changed. But UserVoice is our tool. That is how we figure out what we're going to focus on. A lot of people think that, oh, it's just this thing and you don't look at it. We do. We look at it every single day. And we have multiple people that are focused on UserVoice, but also all of our different channels where we collect feedback, customers, partners, everything else. But UserVoice is going away. So we are migrating to a new tool. That has not been publicly, our new tool has not been publicly shared yet. That is coming. But absolutely, UserVoice is still in existence. Our link to give feedback will not change. It will just be redirected. So you go to aka.ms Teams feedback. It's just going to look a little bit different. We have migrated the data as far as like the high level items, but we aren't migrating all of the details. So like if you submitted a feedback item and put all of your information in there, it's not going to look the same. But all of our top items, and I don't know how many are in there, how many we are migrating, but we took all of there's hundreds of those top items and migrated them into the new tool so they still exist. And if things aren't there, we want you to add to that. But that is happening. That's been a big question, like what's going on with UserVoice? Like I said, we felt it was super important that we had a tool in existence, that we didn't get rid of it before we had something else. And we're currently bug testing our new tool right now, and probably within the next couple of weeks, you'll hear more. Anything to add on that?
I was just going to add one quick thing about UserVoice. When I was on the OneDrive team, I would sit down with Jeff Teeper's directs quarterly, and we would take a look at UserVoice, and once something hit 1,000 votes or more, that's when we would take a look at that item, we would discuss it. And it's important to understand that engineering resources are like a piece of string, which means if we choose to add something, something else is going to fall off. So we're always looking at those. What is affecting either the most amount of users, or what is something that gives us opportunities to set up for a later feature? So it's not that things aren't important, but I know our teams are really good about going in and saying, hey, we're considering this isn't going to happen. We have a lot of people who want features and go, God, this is so important, it's make or break for me, but it affects such a small group of people that our goal is to have features that have really big impact and can really hit the most amount of people and provide, the best experience. So that's why we look at that minimum of 1,000 votes. But keep that in mind, and it is very important, and people are constantly looking at that. So, yeah.
Yep, every single day. We also get a lot of feedback through the Microsoft tech community. Are any of you in the tech community, otherwise known as the MTC? Good job, Sean. I could really use your help answering questions in there. That's good. Anybody else in the tech community? Okay, a couple of people, but not many of you. I urge all of you to log into the tech community. aka.ms Teams community is the link to reach the MTC. That's where you're going to see all of the, not all, but almost all of the Microsoft products and services represented, as well as some of the verticals. So if you're like from a healthcare organization or government, you'll see different topics in there. But the MTC is a place for you to ask questions and to get your questions answered. And also for you to answer questions, Sean.
Let me also add, that's also where all of our What's New blogs are. So at the end of the month, we do a What's New in Teams, and we cover all the features that were released in the previous month. When new features come to education, healthcare, manufacturing, and the various verticals, they'll usually do a dedicated blog. So it's technical. It's not really for end users, although there are end user questions that are asked there, but it is really where you're going to go to get all the information on the latest features that have done it. I know our blogs.microsoft.com, that's more of a high level for our super big, what we call tier 1 announcements, but all the monthly what's new and additions to features and fixes and changes, that's all going to be in tech community. And it's the type of thing that you kind of want to set up an RSS feed, or you want to scan weekly to see what the big issues are, as well as I'm having a problem, or I want to help people solve problems, or I have a best practice or a shortcut or a tip or trick, or I did a video that will help people. All of that can live there, and it's super useful.
Yeah, the MTC is not meant to be where you go to provide product feedback. We really don't have a way to measure anything in the MTC. So though it's a great place to start conversations and, of just different scenarios and things, just always be sure that you put your feedback in our new feedback tool right now, UserVoice. But That's where we can measure, like Steven said, and kind of count votes. The MTC is really meant for like best practices sharing and letting people know, I had this issue, but here's how I was able to resolve it. I think it's very important to share real world customer stories and examples, because that's something that we can't do for Microsoft. We can document things like crazy, but really it's up to all of you to share your examples and let people know how you've implemented something or something cool that you did with a product and so on. So definitely urge you to do that. Like Steven said, the What's New blog is awesome. It is every month, the first week of the month, you'll always see that hit. And that's really the best place to see kind of collectively what we've done. There's also a link though, and I don't have a slide for it, aka.ms Teams What's New. If you go to that, that's gonna tell you on a regular basis all the new things that are released, all the new features that are released. But the MTC is a great place just to see the monthly blog and share those things. Do you want to talk about the live event coming up?
Yeah, absolutely. So as you may well be aware, or maybe not, we do AMAs on a regular basis. Ask Me Anythings about a variety of programs and features. But we're actually on November 9th going to be doing something called MTC Live, and you'll be able to get to that via aka.ms/MTCLive_Teams. And what we're going to do is we're going to do 4 back-to-back AMAs on Teams, and each hour is dedicated to a specific area. So from 8 to 9 a.m., these are Pacific times. We'll be doing Teams security and governance. From 9 to 10, Teams calling and call management. From 10 to 11, Teams rooms and devices. And from 11 to 12, we'll talk about driving Teams adoption and best practices. So it'll be an hour on each of those topics that we'll be doing nothing but just answering your questions and having our experts from our product teams and engineering teams online. Go to that link. We'll put that link up at the end, and you'll be seeing a lot more about that. Right after Ignite, you'll be seeing a lot on social media on that. So make sure to check that out and come with your questions, both things you didn't get answered at Ignite or things that you've just wanted to know about, and we're going to be there to do that for you. So it'll be the mother of all AMAs.
Yeah, we're excited about this new format. Oh, question. Do you want to say the AKA link again?
Sure, I also put it in chat, but it is aka.ms/MTCLive_Teams.
And if you go to aka.ms Teams community, it's the banner. You can get to it that way too.
And I'll also be posting it in my Twitter the week before and all that too, or Laurie
will
as well.
It.
So if you're following us on social, yeah, you'll be seeing lots there too.
Yeah. I like the new format. It allows us to connect. The AMAs are great, first of all, because it's, if you like behind the scenes, what it looks like is pre-COVID, we all sit in a room, like our engineers all sit in a room together and then answer questions that come in real time for a solid hour. And this gives us the opportunity to do that same thing. Obviously, we won't all be sitting in a room, but it gives us the opportunity to connect directly with people. And it's pretty like a unique opportunity for our engineers to hear from the general public. Like, it's a really good exercise. So I always get a lot out of this, and I know that our engineering team does as well. There will be a lot of MVPs that are answering questions too. So if you have people in the community or people that you work with that have questions on those particular topics, the timing is great, being right after Ignite and being able to kind of drill into some of those areas that we'll be talking about at a super high level at Ignite. So MTC. Okay, Women in Teams. If you are not part of Women in Teams and you are a woman, you should be in it. If you are a man, you can also be in it. We love to have everybody there represented. We're having monthly meetings, and we took a little break, but we are kicking things off in November. And this is an opportunity. Please share the Women in Teams community. We have a team set up and then monthly calls. And it's a great opportunity for us to get to know people within the Teams community worldwide. But also it gives us an opportunity for people that maybe wouldn't feel as comfortable speaking at an event or even attending an event in some ways, to just hear more about opportunities and hear about the product, but then learn from each other too. So monthly call, the link is there to sign up. I definitely urge all of you, women and allies, to join the Women in Teams community. We're gonna start, when we have in-person events, now that this is a reality, which is amazing, we're gonna start having meetups as well so that we can get together in person and just get to know each other. So really great space for people to ask questions, hear about open opportunities, hear about the product and so on. So go ahead and go to the next slide. Talk about your Inside MS Teams.
Yeah, so I have a show called Inside Microsoft Teams. We just hit 700,000 views now in less than 20 months. So the folks seem to really love it. And what's great is we have a good amount of opportunities for MVPs. The show is really focused in on not why teams. It's not a marketing thing at all. It's geared towards IT pros and really digs into how our customers did it. And we have chatted with Lego, with AEG, with the Department of Justice. We have Polaris as our show this week, the folks who make the snowmobiles and Indian motorcycles. And we've really had some great conversations that's filled with a lot of tips and tricks and how they prevented team sprawl and things like that. And we just did, our last show was dedicated to MVP tips and tricks. So we had some great folks on. So if you would like to be considered to be a guest on our show, our next season starts in February of next year. We have all of our shows for this year booked up. Our next show is Polaris, then it's our Ignite wrap-up with Paul Thurrott and Mary Jo Foley, and then we have our final show of the season will be a deep dive into team security. But we're always looking for IT pro tips and tricks videos, so if you have a great idea for a 3 to 4 minute, no more than 5 tips and tricks video, I'd love to hear. So don't just send me the video, but reach out to me and say, hey, I have a great idea. What do you think? Customer stories, if you're working with a great customer or you work for a company that you think has got a great idea, great story around Microsoft Teams, reach out. Deep dive blogs, we're always looking for folks to go deep on a topic and to really sort of dig in a specific area, maybe double click on that tip and trick video. And real world expertise, that's always really important to us. So if you have any of those areas, I encourage you to reach out to me at Stephen L. Rose on Twitter or check out the site aka.ms Inside Microsoft Teams. You find us on YouTube, on our page, and our blogs on Tech Community. So thanks.
Yeah,
Laurie?
I think that that's like the real world expertise. Like we stress that a lot because it really is something that we can't do. So we look to all of you to share those examples and the different ways that you've done things. So, and Stephen's show is super fun and it's always entertaining, but also very informational. So a good way for those of you that want to share something, kind of get yourself out there. If you don't have your own podcast or blog or something, this is a really great way to get involved. And yeah, I got to be on Stephen's show last time and it was super fun.
Yeah, and if you do have a blog or podcast or webcast that you would like one of us to be on, we're always open to that too. So please reach out. I'm amazed at how many people feel that what the work you're doing is below us or whatever. I am always happy to reach new folks and to chat with folks as long as it's not like the week of Ignite and things like that. So please don't hesitate.
And I would also extend that offer to our engineering team, to our PMs that are working on different features. If you have blogs that you want to interview somebody for, or if you have a speaking opportunity that you want somebody to look at your slides to just kind of give a review on, or if you have a podcast or some sort of show that you want to interview people, Stephen's always really great about doing that. But our PM team is super excited to join those things. I mean, Rish Tandon, who runs our entire engineering organization, has been on several lately. I've seen him promoting different things on his social accounts. So it's really exciting to see the team really get engaged with community, and they love doing that. So you can always reach out to me and I can connect you with the right people depending on what the opportunity is that you have. But don't feel like you can't do that. I think sometimes people are like, oh, Microsoft, I don't know who to talk to, or I don't know where to start, or oh, they wouldn't ever want to talk to me. That's not the case. Definitely reach out because we love that stuff. Yeah. Explore the community members' resources. What is that? Explore the community members' resources. Oh, Dan's doing a session. Dan Ray is doing a session tomorrow. Everybody that you need to know in the community, which I'm very excited about. So I'll be attending that. I think, if you're interested in this session, you definitely should go to Dan's, and he'll be talking about different people that you need to know and why, and kind of some of the things that you can learn from them. So that should be good. And we've talked about being a podcast guest. There are MVPs and people within the community that are always looking for guests. So if you have a topic that you want to talk about, definitely let us know. We'll get you on our shows within Microsoft, or have you write a blog on the community blog. But definitely use each other. And there's companies that are definitely promoting blogs as well. I know many of you write for your own organizations, but look to each other and offer up a slot on your podcast or your blog. Reach out and kind of cross-promote each other and invite each other to be part of that. And bring friends. So I always like to have a co-presenter first of all, I don't think of myself as a speaker. I love having somebody co-present with me. And I think that a lot of people can benefit from that. Oftentimes there's just good banter that you can have back and forth with each other, but also in the spirit of promoting new people to speak, bringing somebody that doesn't look like you to co-present is really cool. And then also bring a friend, because I think that a lot of people don't really know what these events are. It's like, oh, this thing, my company told me to go, or a friend talked about it, or a coworker, or whatever. But a lot of people don't know what these different events are. I mean, people hear about Ignite, but they may not know what a user group is or what a community event is. So bring others, and I think one of the things that I like to do is usually when I travel, I'll connect with a local university and try to bring a young woman that's studying computer science with me to just experience this. Because I think in technology, so many of us are stuck behind a computer, and really the last 2 years, let's be honest, we've all been behind a computer screen. And having the opportunity to see that there's more to tech than just sitting behind a computer in a dark basement coding for a lot of people is important. And something like this just shows that there's a human side too to technology. So I just urge people, bring your friend, have somebody co-present you, just kind of offer opportunities to people where and how you can. And then attend community events, obviously supporting all of you. Thank you for supporting Comms vNext and be part of this Reconnect event. There's lots of other things that are virtual and in person. We're starting to see many more. We gave the tech community link. Within the tech community, there's event listings. So if you're interested in what's in your area, or even something that's happening in another country that you may want to attend, you can check those out there. And then hosting a user group. If this isn't something you've thought about before, I urge you to think about it. Is there something in your local community that you can bring people together and host a user group on a topic? Doesn't have to be Microsoft Teams, though I'm a big fan of if you want to talk about Microsoft Teams. That's a great way to share your experiences with others, get to know people within your communities, and so on. And I think this ties into the next slide. Good, okay. I wanted to be sure that I had that in the right order. We created this thing called the community tenant. And we did that because I just got an ESPN. I'm in fantasy football, so you'll have to excuse my notification there. Oh my gosh. We created something called the community tenant. And we did this because when the pandemic hit, all of these events and user groups had to be virtual. And they were having to use their own organization. Probably some of you have experienced this. If you have a user group or are doing an event, they had to use their own company's tenant, or they had to go out and purchase licenses to create a tenant and to get licenses to be able to have Teams and other Microsoft products to host their events virtually. And we didn't want that to happen. And we wanted to enable everybody to be able to use Microsoft Teams and not these other solutions you might have heard of. So we created the community tenant, and we did a pilot, and now we're expanding. And so I want to make that offer to all of you. If you have a user group or a community event that you are a part of, that you have created yourself, you can get licenses to the community tenant, up to 5 E5 licenses. And that enables you to use all Microsoft products and services under that license and be a part of the community tenant. Have your own team in there and have the opportunity to connect with your attendees, but also to use it as planning tools. So that is available. You can move to the next slide. I think I have kind of some more detail on this. And you can just click through all those, Stephen. I didn't realize this is a build. Sorry about that. But just for reference, you have E5 licenses. There's a shared community team. If you're part of the community tenant, that you can just learn from other people. Hey, what are you doing for your event? How are you talking about this topic and so on? Or how are you doing a hybrid event? How did that work? How did you do it? How was the setup? And then you also have your own personal team. So if you're the Denver Microsoft Teams user group, you can have your own team there and you manage that. You own it. It's not managed by Microsoft. You have control over who's in that team, who's not in the team, how it's set up, what the channels look like, and so on. We have a template, so we kind of set it up with that template, but then you have full control over all that. And we've automated the onboarding, so we have a tool that you can go in and just add your members, add your guests. So it's a good opportunity. And for us, so what's in it for Microsoft? Well, it's a really great way for us to get product feedback. Like having people in this community tenant that are using it on a regular basis that can provide us with feedback is really important to us. But then also we get to have you use Microsoft Teams. That's important for us. And then also, it gives us the opportunity to have kind of a playground for you to build things on. So if you have automation that you want to build, if you have an app or a bot or something that you think would be useful for our community, it gives us an opportunity to share that with other people. And then a place for us to kind of test things out. So we haven't done it yet, but we will be kind of using it as a first run to try things out. New features, new apps, and so on. So if you want to be a part of it, you are welcome to. All we ask is that you are not a company that's making money off of your events, but that it's a nonprofit. It doesn't have to be a 501c3, but just a community-driven initiative. And then we will set you up. And it has to be on Microsoft products and services. So if you are, your son plays baseball and they are a nonprofit and you want to set up a team, that's fine, but not on the community tenant. This is for Microsoft products and services discussions. Doesn't have to be Teams. It could be Azure or whatever. So, all right. Oh, what is an MVP? I feel like a few of you in this room could talk.
And I will say this, I'm an ex-MVP. I spent 3 years as a Microsoft MVP before being asked to join Microsoft. So I wholeheartedly endorse the MVP program.
We talk about MVPs a lot, yeah, and Stephen is like one of our biggest MVP supporters. We just say like MVP this and that, and people sometimes don't know what an MVP is. And also, there's like this mystery around it. Like, how do I become an MVP? What boxes do I have to check? And so Ali Thompson, Ali works on the MVP team, and we oftentimes share this information in an entire hour-long session to answer questions, and I host office hours and things because people are always just like, this is a mystery, help us figure it out. An MVP is somebody that has deep technical knowledge on Microsoft products and services, but also shares that knowledge with the rest of the world or with their communities. So that's via blogs or speaking at an event like this or hosting a user group or creating apps and bots and sharing that on GitHub, answering questions in the community, really being out there and sharing their knowledge in a lot of different ways with people and not being paid for it. So you may be really, really good at your job, but that doesn't mean that you're an MVP. An MVP will go beyond their job and share their knowledge outside of what they do day to day for their work. So if they're hosting something like a workshop and at something like this, but their companies having them do that, that's a paid thing that, so that wouldn't be a community activity. But if you, on the weekend, want to write a blog article, want to attend an event like this, want to speak, and you're doing that on your own time, that is giving back to community, and those are the things that we look for from MVPs. So if you go to the next slide, I'll talk a little bit about the, like, you made this so fancy, Stephen. He took my slides and made them pretty. I love this.
Aw, happy to help.
Yeah. So creating content. This is in the form of like a blog or an article. Some people write books. Like, that's pretty cool. But just creating content. It could be shared on GitHub, could be shared in the community. You may have your own site, your own event, or your own blog. And that's just where you're creating, net new. What we look for there is not like regurgitating like what we just announced. So like if we have we have a What's New blog, or we have an Ignite blog that talks about what we just released, a new feature. It's not just taking that and being like, look what Microsoft just did. We just have this new feature. That's not really what we're looking for. What we're looking for is taking that and saying how you implemented it, sharing your own story, sharing your experiences. That's what we're looking for, is like either really deep technical knowledge that you're sharing or your own experiences, but not just like, oh, there's this thing called private channels. It's really cool. It's like, no, we have private channels and this is how we implemented it. Here are the pros and cons and when you might use it, how I use my private channels. That's the content that we're looking for. And that goes for not only blogs and kind of written content, but also, if you have a podcast and any other way that you're sharing your information. Product feedback is very important. I know it can be difficult because there's really no way for us to track that coming from you individually. So, and we'll talk about how people get nominated in a minute, but product feedback is something that the team's organization is like a huge priority. So when I'm looking at people that have been nominated as MVPs, I always couple things that I look for is like, have they submitted feedback and are they in the tech community? Because those are kind of like no-brainers, really easy ways to contribute. So that's very important. Speaking engagements at these types of things, or being a user group speaker, those are really easy kind of ways to get your foot in the door if you're passionate about a topic or you have experiences to share. A user group is usually a smaller audience, usually local. Right now, with things being virtual, of course, it's a little bit different because you may reach a much larger audience than you intended to. But those speaking engagements are very important as well. Community boards like the tech community, answers. I know there's a Facebook group, not managed by Microsoft, but those types of things where people are asking questions and looking for answers, really easy way to contribute. And then, of course, creating apps and contributing code and sharing that with people as well. Those are the things we look at. If you, there's some examples on, if you go to mvp.microsoft.com, that is the website where it lays out kind of all the specifics. Like, what is an MVP? What do I have to do? Some examples of things people have done. But there's not a checklist. So I don't have like a magic, like, you have to write 5 blogs and you have to speak this many times and so on. It's not, there's no magic, like, list of things for me to tell you that you have to do. It's really collectively. Some people don't like to speak. Some people don't have a blog. Some people don't create code, and that's okay. It's just a mix of what works for you and just being passionate about it. And really that's what it means to be an MVP, is just sharing that stuff because you like to, not because you are gunning for the award. Yeah, so this is the process. This is like, everybody's like, what, like, how is it end to end? What is the process like? So, sharing passion for teams, like just doing what you love because you want to share. That's really where to start. And then once you know that, hey, like, I think there's something to this. I really like this community stuff. I really love sharing with people. Well, then you need to be nominated. So it used to be that you could be nominated by anybody. Anybody could nominate anybody. You could nominate yourself. Now it is a FTE, which is a Microsoft full-time employee, a blue badge, like Steven or myself or several of the other people here at this event, or an MVP, a current MVP. So those are the people that can nominate, and oftentimes it's hard for people to ask for a nomination. Let people know, let people if you're interested in the MVP program and you aren't an MVP already, then let people know that you're interested in that, because not everybody knows that that's something that you want to do. And so it can be awkward, like, hey, can you nominate me for MVP? But it's not, because everybody has to do that. Well, not everybody, but definitely don't be afraid to do that. Let people know that you're interested in it. And then once you're nominated, what that looks like is that if one of us nominates you, we put in the tool that we think this person would be a good candidate for MVP, and this is why. Here's how I know this person. Here's some examples of their work, and so on. And then once that process started, then you accept the nomination. And once the acceptance comes in, then the CPM, which is the Community Program Manager, that's somebody that is there's different regions in the world. So regional CPM is dedicated to looking at all of those nominations and trying to figure out, does this person have the depth of knowledge? What types of thing are they doing? They kind of evaluate if this person meets the bar. And they're looking across all Microsoft products and services. So there's not like a CPM for Teams and a CPM for Azure and so on. There's a CPM for a region, and they look for MVPs covering all Microsoft products and services. Microsoft Teams falls under the OAS, or Office Apps and Services award category. They've changed from time to time. The important thing for you to think about is if you work on only Microsoft Teams, which is kind of hard because we have so much integration, it's unlikely that you only know Teams, but the OAS award is kind of the overarching category, and then under that there's multiple products and services. So if you are really good at and have a lot of knowledge in Excel or SharePoint or these other products, all of that experience and all of your community work is collectively looked at for the award. So the CPM will look at your nomination, and then if the CPM says, yeah, this person looks like a good candidate, they meet the bar, then it goes to a V team, and that's made up of, depending on the products that you focus on, it would be, me for Teams, somebody else for the different products, and then also, people from the field, people from marketing, people from, it's across Microsoft, and we look at that on a monthly basis. So if you were nominated in October, you have 3 months to go through this process end to end. If you're not awarded within that 3 months, then the clock starts over and you have to be re-nominated. So 3 months, it's not a big deal. If you're not awarded MVP within that 3 months, it happens to the bulk of the people. And the CPM's job is to tell you why, and it's okay to ask why if they don't tell you that, and receive coaching, and just like, hey, what are some other things I can do? What are the product groups looking for? And every product group is looking for different things at any given time, so it's kind of hard to gauge. We're also, like right now in Latin America, I've really tried to push the MVP program because we don't have a really strong representation. So we're also looking just kind of globally, like, where do we need more people? And because I want to make a really diverse group of MVPs so that we have feedback sessions from people from all over the world, not just North America, for instance. So we definitely take things like that into account as well. If the V team, we vote, and if we say, yeah, this person totally has what it takes, they've done a lot of amazing things, then we basically check a box, and then every month there is a new batch of MVPs awarded. So that's a simplified version of how it all goes down. But are there any questions about that? Because I know this is often something people ask about, so. I didn't know we had this. Stephen, this is very exciting. I'm gonna get it from Pat just to show you. It's my video. We have a little question thing, you know, cube.
Ooh, I like
that we can
that.
throw around to people. They have questions.
Very nice.
Well, I should get this like here. Does anybody have a question about the MVP program? Wait, please hold.
Yeah, how long, once you're awarded an MVP, how long does it use to renew or?
Good question. So the question was, once you're awarded MVP, how long are you an MVP? And the answer is 1 year. There's a 1 year renewal. So some MVPs have been MVPs for 20 years, 10 years, but it is a 1 year renewal. So last year we actually had, we were given some grace with COVID and everybody was automatically renewed. But typically it happens at the end of our fiscal year. So we do monthly awards, and then every year, then in July, you would be re-awarded. So that first year, if it's less than a year, you're just automatically in for the next year. But then it's a yearly review process. So it's really fun to look over almost 400
I was just going to say,
MVPs.
and I'll.
Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead, Laurie. Finish up. I was just going to say, and I'll add to that, one of the other reasons that that's important is I've had some people that I've had to decline the program for a year or two, and then they've come back to it. So,
Yeah.
for example, when Windows 10 came out, I had somebody who was still writing books and doing tons of stuff on Windows 7. And I said, that's awesome, but you're not going to stay a Windows MVP by doing Windows 7 stuff. I really need you out there talking about Windows 10, showing off the latest stuff, really showing that you are the expert in the room on the newest stuff from Microsoft. And he had to drop out of the program for a year, and then he moved up, became an expert in Windows 10, and he has since come back. That's Raymond Comvelius, who is a brilliant guy out of the Netherlands and did a great job. But I'm like, that's great, and I'm glad all these books are helping you personally, but it's not moving our community forward when people have all these questions on Windows 10 and you're still doing Windows 7. So it is to be the expert on the room, and it does require that you are staying up to date on the latest features and functionality and things like that within your area. So that is an important part of it as well, and that's one of those things that we certainly take a look at as we look at that review process. So I just wanted to add that with a real world experience, example of that.
Yeah, that happens actually frequently. People, like, life changes and, you know, or their work becomes a priority. And that's totally fine. That some people take a year or 2 or 5 off. Yeah. When you're going through the nomination and your nomination is accepted, part of what you have to do is put in the tool all the things like the last 3 months that you've done. What are the contributions? And when doing that, it's really important not to just put like your blog address, but instead, here are the blogs that I wrote, like the titles and the links, and here's the reach. I would say from Microsoft Teams, we're less concerned about reach and more concerned with the content. You know, because the reach will come once, you know, you get out there more. But absolutely, that's something that we look at. Like, I want to see, is this person writing blogs on stuff that we just announced that we already wrote about, or is it net new content that you've created? That's really important. So. Okay, cool. Well, feel free to ask me about MVP. Oh, yes.
Do I have to throw this? Okay, I'm not.
Shortcut Sherry has.
Hi, Laurie.
Watch out for her.
Hi.
She's in trouble.
So I've been in the running for the MVP a couple of times, and the feedback I've gotten is I'm not technical enough. So I'm a productivity specialist. I don't do code.
Yeah.
Don't make me talk in letters. So is that, you feel
That's
like
really
productivity doesn't have a
interesting.
space?
We should talk after this. So no, it's not a requirement that you code and that you are super, super technical. At least, so, and it's hard, right? Because every product has their own things that they look for, and that's what makes this even more ambiguous. But from the team's perspective, I mean, first of all, Teams is not just Teams. Teams is SharePoint. Teams is, right? There's all these other integration points. I mean, you look at Power Platform and like, there's so many different things that are going on with Teams. Nobody is a really deep expert on everything having to do with Teams. I mean, somebody might be an IT pro, somebody might be a developer, somebody may be an adoption consultant or a trainer. That doesn't make them any less important. It definitely is important to us that we have all of those different people represented in our MVP community, because you may have customer stories that somebody who's coding doesn't have, right? And somebody who's coding and developing apps for Teams doesn't maybe know the challenges that the end users are having. So that's not a really good answer for me like that. So it just depends on who, you know, what product you're talking to. Is it the CPM that told you that?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's interesting. We'll have to talk about that. There are definitely people, and I think it's kind of shifting too. Like you have people that are more focused on the end user experience than maybe before. Like I said, it's all important.
Yeah, my hashtags were the waffle. It came out of Ignite. Where's the waffle?
Where's the waffle?
Where's all your stuff, you know? So.
Yeah.
Okay.
Other questions before we, I know we have the, what can we do for you? Well, here's the get involved. Okay. Oh, go ahead.
I just want to play with the box. No, seriously. For the renomination or the renewal process,
Yeah.
does that automatically happen, or do they have to come back to another FTE or MVP to say, hey, I want to keep doing this kind of thing?
They don't have to be renominated. Good question. So if you're already an MVP and you are yearly renewal, you do not have to go through that process again. In a perfect world, MVPs will be entering their activities all throughout the year, and then, and Paul's laughing, yeah, that doesn't always happen. It's like May, and we're like, hey, FYI, like you might want to think about
like
this.
Taxes. Don't hang on to all your
Yes.
receipts and wait for the last day to do it. Enter it as you go along, and it's much easier, and you won't forget things.
Yeah. Like taxes. Oh my gosh, that's so true. I think one good thing to do if you're thinking about the MVP award, or if it's something that you're interested in, is just like open up a OneNote or whatever, however you take notes, and just kind of track the things that you're doing as you're thinking of it, so that you have all that at the ready when you go through the nomination. But it does happen automatically from the MVP side. If you're already an MVP, you're just up for renewal, is what they call it. And then it's on us to go through that process. And we look at the tool and we look at everything that everybody's done and evaluate, do they still meet the bar or not? And like I said, things happen, priorities change, and some people just don't.
I won the Powerball. I don't want
Yeah.
to be an MVP anymore.
Right, yeah. I don't have time, whatever. Yeah, or not interested. But, and then usually, if people are just kind of keeping up with what they did when they were awarded, then there's no question. Stephen, do we want to open it up for I
think we should open up for questions. This is a great slide if folks just want to take a picture of it. This is most of the links that we did. I'll actually stop sharing for a second, and I will add the Teams Live, the MTC Live link to this, because a few of you were still unsure on it, and then we'll just answer questions. So I will be right back I'll add one more link to this.
Yeah, well, that first link there, the Teams community, it's the banner on that page.
Right,
So,
which is fine. Yeah, that'll take it to the top level.
yeah. So let's see, what's our next slide? Is it our tell us what you want?
It's it's Q&A.
Yeah, okay. So really, and it doesn't have to be, if you don't have a question, that's fine. If you have feedback for us, like how can Microsoft support you? In your community efforts, in your job, is there documentation that you need? Is there information that you want more frequently? Are there better ways that we can communicate with you? I mean, Steve and I might not be the ones that can make the change, but we're definitely open to feedback and want to take it to the right people. So kind of set that out there as well. So feel free to ask us questions. I don't know where the cube is, but any questions? It's silent, Stephen.
It's fine. And I will say this, don't get offended if you come to one of us and go, hey, I need this feature in Teams or what, blah, 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 or this needs to change. And very often I've had this conversation with people and I've said, I get it and I love that, but that affects such a small group of people. We'll certainly bring it to engineering, but we're really going on what can hit the widest amount of our customers with many of the features that we're looking at. It's not to say that we don't do small features. When we look at features, we look at things that are evolutionary, things that are a natural progression on our features, and some that are revolutionary that people don't expect. But I have had people come to me with a suggestion that is so specific to how they are using it that it's very, very difficult to justify spending millions of dollars in engineering time and cost to bring a feature that will affect a handful of people. So just be aware of that. Don't take it personally if we go, I don't think that's something we can do, or we'll certainly take a look at that, but if it doesn't happen as quickly as you would.
One thing that
So,
to that point is a lot of people, you've probably seen on social, people will be like, vote on this user voice item. And I recommend that, like, do it, like, socialize it. If you think that it's important to you and you think other people would want it, there's no shame in putting it out there saying, this is why I want this feature, this is why I need this feature. If you feel the same, vote on it. And a lot of times that just getting that word out there. Don't be ashamed. Any questions? What are the things that, if you have a Microsoft Teams question, I'm always interested in this. You have a question on how something works. Where do you go to find that answer? Besides Google. Community.
The correct answer is Bing.
So like community meaning somebody that you know in the community, or okay. Yeah, so you reach out, like phone a friend? Yeah. Yeah. site:/Microsoft.com. There's, we have the docs site, which is where all of our documentation lives. If you ever find anything, I think there's a feedback button on the docs site, like if anything's out of date or doesn't make sense, like internal threads will go crazy, when there's like, this isn't documented, or something's documented improperly, and things go out of date so fast with how fast our product moves now. Like the old on-prem days where it was like you had weeks and weeks to plan your documentation. So if ever you see something that doesn't look right, send it to one of us, or use that little feedback button. And okay, yeah, like bad links is, a good example. So yeah, we definitely want to, because you're not the only one having that issue. Yeah.
And I will share, we completely redesigned the docs.microsoft.com site last year. So now you find the information, first of all, in a better cycle pilot. Second stage, prepare for end user adoption. Before you deploy, secure, manage. And now when you go into these areas, we'll also refer you to things like, here is the solution posters, here is our phone connectivity, here's the network planner, where we've really taken a lot of time to completely reorganize, update, and bring all of that information, including what are the latest features and all that, plus all of the content on MS Learn. That's also a huge part of it, is we have a ton of great walkthroughs on Teams. So if you go to products and you go to Teams, we now also have all these great learning paths, and these are interactive modules, like how to configure for connectivity, admin center, security, privacy, compliance, phone systems with direct routing. All of these are interactive labs that you can do, and they're really, really great and great resources. So both in preparing yourself and your help desk and your technical users, the adoption.microsoft.com has tons of great end user content as well as internal content for preparing for adoption. And then of course we also have Docs, which is really our user manual for Teams, for IT pros, and we've spent a lot of time redoing it. So we encourage you, if you've not been out to it in the past year, let's say, really retake a look. We spent a lot of time updating this.
Steven, you're falling asleep, and we need to go eat lunch.
Sorry, it's been a lot. Yeah, I'm ready for more coffee and lunch.
Sorry. Oh, look at your mug. That's awesome. Sorry, I was on mute. I want the T-shirt. All right. Well, Steven, thank you so much for being here virtually today.
Absolutely.
So happy to have you join. And if anybody has questions afterwards, you know how to reach both of us, and feel free to reach out at any time and let us know what you got. If you've got feedback that you didn't maybe want to speak up and talk about, please come to us. We definitely want to hear this. So thanks, everybody, for being here today. Thanks, Steven.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day. And I'm going to try to pop into some of your sessions throughout the next day or so. So
Awesome.
it was, I'll get a chance to see some of you virtually.
Thanks, Steven. See ya.
All right.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.